Hello and welcome to Swayam MOOC on British Poetry and Drama. It's such a pleasure to be with you all again. We are in the middle of the discussions of one of the most intense tragedies written by Shakespeare, Macbeth. And today we are to explore one of the most powerful, enigmatic aspect of the play. So today's discussion would revolve around Act 1, Scene 5th and Act 5th, Scene 1. You would ask why? Because it makes us see the journey of one of the most powerful women characters of Shakespeare in the play. Obviously, you know, Lady Macbeth. And through these scenes, we see Lady Macbeth rise to power and then, under the weight of guilt, fall. Right? Now, before we proceed further, let us hook ourselves to the learning objectives of the session. They will be our anchors for today's discussions. So, we will try to explore the entire arc of action as far as the character of Lady Macbeth is concerned. We will try to understand the dynamics of power and how gender influences it. Right? We will be trying to understand, the fall of Lady Macbeth. Is it guided by her feminine nature or it is just because she is distraught? So, we will study her madness and try to make sense of it. So, let us begin. Right? Lady Macbeth, if you try to understand, she appears to be very powerful character the moment you meet her. So, for the first time we meet her in this act, Act 1, Scene 5th, and Macbeth has written a letter to her. Up till now we know that the play starts with not hero or action but atmosphere. So, atmosphere of the play is that of drama, tension, suspense. So, words like fair is foul, foul is fair, hover through the fog and fill the air. So, there is much of filth in the air. Up till now we have seen that Macbeth has been seduced, or you would say, corrupted by the witches. Duncan has already announced the prize and Macbeth has already started dreaming. So, greatest to come, right? The crown, the king. Now, what happens? The moment Duncan announces that he would be guest of Macbeth, so Macbeth writes a letter to Lady Macbeth announcing this. Now, you would understand that the desire here is as much as to share what the witches tell to his better half, and they are very much in love in this moment. The desire in his mind. Somehow it is also to intuitively hint her at what he would want, what is to be done, because she knows him and he knows her, that she would instantly know what is it that needs to be done. So, let us start reading the act from where Lady Macbeth reads the letter and starts reflecting on it. What are the implications of the dialogues of the soliloquy? Let us see. Right? So, she says, "Glamis thou art." She has read the letter and the letter tells, "Weird sisters, saluted me with all those titles, you remember, Thane of Glamis, Thane of Cawdor, and then King of Scotland." And the moment she reads the letter, she understands what her husband expects from her to do. And then she starts speaking this. She's talking to herself. And this is a soliloquy. We know that in Shakespeare's time, there was nothing like voiceover available. So, soliloquies were the only way audience would be getting to understand what the character is thinking. Right? So, this is what she is actually thinking. So, Glamis thou art. He is already Thane of Glamis, we know. Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. So, she is so convinced, yes, you are already Thane of Glamis, you are now Thane of Cawdor, and what has been promised to you, you would become that also, King of Scotland. And imagine, this is a great deal to think. Why? Because it cannot happen unless and until Duncan is killed and power is used. Right? Why? Because immediate child he is not, Duncan is already having 2 children, so heirs are there, right? So already this is something serious she is preparing herself for. And then what does she say? Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness. Now, this soliloquy becomes very important when you try to understand the character of not only Lady Macbeth, but also Macbeth. Because Lady Macbeth, she is a partner in life and partner in crime, right? So she understands Macbeth, and this is her opinion. Your heart is too full of milk of human kindness. So he has some nobility in his soul, and this is what convinces us that Macbeth doesn't start evil. He is not an evil soul when we enter and meet him in this play. So it is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Why she is saying this? You won't be able to catch the nearest way. She knows that no matter how much Macbeth desires, he would not be able to kill unless and until there is some push. He would not take the nearest way that easily. It will require some effort, some force. So she says, to catch the nearest way, thou wouldest be great, art not without ambition. These are, noted down, one of the most famous and most quoted lines from this scene. So, thou wouldest be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. So, what is Lady Macbeth highlighting here? She knows that ambition is within, and this is what we were talking about when we talked about the witches. Witches do not suggest Macbeth something which is outside. They only name the desire which was already there in Macbeth's heart. They only voice it. And now she is also saying the same thing, that you have ambition. It is not that you never desired to be the king. You are very ambitious and you have that ambition in it. But what is it that you are not having? The mettle which it takes to do such a thing. So what does she say? Thou wouldest be great, art not without ambition. Thou wouldest be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. Right? So it requires some kind of illness. Remember, she is not saying valor, she is not saying power, she is saying illness. Right? So ambition to make you fall, to make you do deeds which are not socially acceptable, viable, which are not considered to be good. That can be done only when illness is there. So ambition in itself is not a problem. But if illness attends it, if you are willing to do wrong things, if you are willing to take the shortcuts which require heinous deeds, then it is a problem. So she is saying that Macbeth has ambition, but Macbeth is not having that illness. And therefore the witches, and therefore Lady Macbeth, they become very important in driving him. Right? So then she goes on to say, thus thou must do, if thou have it. Thus thou must do. Notice it. To understand it better, you have to let every word in. You have to meditate upon what she is saying and what are the implications. We will talk about it later on. So what is it that she says? Thus thou must do, if thou have it, and that which rather thou dost fear to do. If you will have it, what you want, then you must do. You will have to do what you fear. And then she says, thus thou must do, if thou have it, and that which rather thou dost fear to do, than wishes should be undone. Hie thee hither, come quickly, hie thee hither, that I may pour my spirits in thine ear and chastise with the valor of my tongue. Remember, chastise with the valor of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have thee crowned withal. So she knows that she will have to use words to trigger him, to chastise him, to force him to do what it takes to do, to fulfill this ambition. Later on, when Macbeth comes and he is hesitating, let us move further in the scene. and Macbeth comes, and how she addresses, and one thing which I really marvel is the love which they have between them. Because when you meet her in Act 5th, the contrast, it hits very, very sharply, and it makes you understand what is gone, what is missing. So she's like, great Clamus, worthy cow the greater than both, by an all hail hereafter. King, she's suggesting, thy letters have transported me beyond this ignorant present, and I feel now the future in the instant. She's trying to make him see what is coming. She knows that he needs preparing, otherwise he would not do it. Macbeth, my dearest love, he's already hesitant. So you understand, Lady Macbeth knows him so well. My dearest love, Duncan comes here tonight. And she asks, and when goes hence? Macbeth, tomorrow. He says, tomorrow, as he proposes. And what is it Lady Macbeth says? Oh, never. These are one of the most haunting lines of the play. She says, never shall sun that morrow say. That tomorrow will never come in which Duncan leaves this castle. So he'll come, but there is no leaving from here. She's determined. She's firm, right? And she says, your face, my Thane, is as a book where men may read strange matters to beguile the time. Look like the time. Bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. So you know what chastising it was, she was talking about. She's just now working her way into it. She knows that Macbeth would need spur. And then she goes on, he that's coming must be provided for, and you shall put that snide business into my dispatch. You just be there, attend him, look welcoming, rest I'll manage, don't worry, right? And therefore she's a partner in crime here, right? Then, which shall do all our nights and days to come, give solely sovereign way and master tom. Macbeth says, we will speak further. He is having doubts. He has decided that, we shouldn't be doing this. Later on he will say, he is here in double trust. As a kin, I am supposed to kill his murderers and not murder him. As a guest also. So he is a cousin, kin, and then he is a guest. So both these stations, basically advise that we must not kill him. But Lady Macbeth, she is already, clear on what she would do. Leave all the rest to me. How do you see it? What is she doing? In the soliloquy which follows after this, Lady Macbeth is thinking, notice her prayer. What is she praying? Unsex me. So she knows that what is required to be done at present, she cannot do it unless and until she forgets her essential nature, which is so feminine. So it would be difficult for her to do what it takes to prepare a Macbeth. So she prays that unsex me, take out my milk, for gone, and everything. What she wants is that she should be filled top to toe with dire cruelty, unless and until it wouldn't be possible. And when Macbeth comes, as we move further, so there comes a moment, we see when Macbeth is hesitant and trying to convince her that there is no reason why we should murder him. Both the things, he's our guest and he's a cousin coming here in double trust. So they advise against it. And she starts what she has already planned, just chastising. And she uses many things. Was hope drunk? She calls him a coward. And remember, he's a warrior. Cowardice is the greatest charge, negative charge that could be leveled against a warrior. And then she uses an image, a metaphor which is unimaginable for any woman, any person in fact. She says, I have given suck and know how tender it is to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brain out had I so sworn. My goodness, you understand what she wanted, what she had prayed for. Take all the, feminine kindness, compassion, and fill me with dire cruelty. And it works. This chastising work, after this, Macbeth becomes very firm and he's convinced that he's going to go ahead with the murder. Now, before we take a leap and see Lady Macbeth in a completely different shade and try to understand what does it reveal to us about her character, about gender, about the notion of power. I have a question to you all. What do you think? Here fear is driving both of them, not only Macbeth but also Lady Macbeth. But then what is it that she fears? That she is so bent upon that it should be done immediately, right? And you should look clean. Nobody should be able to read your face, look like an innocent person. What is it that she is so scared of? What do you think? Failure could be. So she is scared, what if they fail? Could it be anything else?
Morality.
Very, very well pointed. Morality. Now, when we take this leave and move to Act 5th, keep these two responses in mind, whether it is failure or it is morality, because Act 5th make us understand what it could be. So, now we leap. Murder has been committed. Duncan has been murdered. Macbeth has become the king, and he has killed Banquo because he knew that Banquo knows the prophecy and could be really dangerous. So many people have opposed him, and he senses danger from so many people. So he gets on killing. We have discussed it to some length. So one of the most heinous murders is that of Lady Macduff and the innocent children, all the children of Macduff. So all these killings have been performed, and Macbeth now has turned into a tyrant. And now there is no conscience which is stopping Macbeth, murder after murder. And then Lady Macbeth is standing a witness to it all. What does it do? What is it that Lady Macbeth gains from all that? So we saw her rise in power, become very powerful. She wanted was for her husband. Her husband's wish is her wish. That also tells much about her character. So let us take this leap, and now we jump to Act 5th, Scene 1. So when you look at Shakespeare, language also has been used so beautifully, and we'll try to see psychology of language here. It's so amusing to see. You see her rise in Act 1, Scene 5th, and you see her fall under the weight of guilt in Act 5th, Scene 1. So what happens in Act 5th, Scene 1? Everything has been done. Macbeth has lost himself. He has become a tyrant, and Scotland is bleeding. And what is happening is something which Lady Macbeth just cannot endure anymore, and therefore she breaks. She completely loses herself. So in this scene, Lady Macbeth starts sleepwalking, and then what happens? She gradually goes mad. So when we meet in this scene, doctor is there, the physic, and the woman who attends her. Both of them are talking, and they get to hear things which are very dangerous, and they realize all that had happened under the roof of Macbeth. So let us first watch this soliloquy, and then we'll move further. How moving, how brilliant. Now, what is happening here? It is clear that Lady Macbeth has lost herself. And what is that she is struggling with? When she says, out, damned spot, I say, out. What spot it is? Obviously it is Shakespeare. The spot is metaphorical. Spot on heart, the weight of guilt. So Lady Macbeth now driven completely by guilt consciousness. So in the very initial act also, she had prayed that she should be unsexed. All that is feminine in her should be erased. Only then she would be able to do what she needs to do. Now that it has been done, there is no such call, and conscience becomes very powerful, and Lady Macbeth collapses under the weight of the guilt conscience. She has been denying it long, and therefore what happens? She starts walking in sleep, and gradually the mind rebels and she goes mad. There is no going back. What is done cannot be undone. This is how it ends. She goes on, wash your hands, put on your nightgown. She has lost herself. In sleepwalking, she says everything which is weighing so heavily on her heart, which she cannot tell anybody when she is awake. And she tells all that. She lets it, vent in her sleep, all the memories associated with that, black day, that murder. And then, what does she say? To bed, to bed. There's knocking at the gate. Now this knocking at the gate is also symbolic in many ways. Why? She knows that now the fall is inevitable and the gate basically is gate of eternal damnation. She is to be damned. And then she says, come, 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 give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed, to bed, to bed. And after this we only hear about her suicide, and then comes the very famous soliloquy of Macbeth, tomorrow and tomorrow. We'll take that in our next session. But today let us stop on Lady Macbeth. How do you understand her? Or let me put it this way. When you look at Lady Macbeth in Act 1, Scene 5, in Scene 5, Act 1, what are the questions which come to your mind? How would you, see her?
Why does Lady Macbeth ask to be unsexed? Is this anti-feminine or something new?
Very good question. If you ask me, there are many reasons to believe that this is not anti-feministic. Basically, Lady Macbeth asks to unsex herself because ultimately society expects women to be passive, right? And what is required at present is she has to become active, agent in action. And basically she fears that her moral conscience, her feminine nature might interfere with the call of duty towards her husband. And this is the reason why she prays that she should be unsexed.
But why does she break down when Macbeth becomes stronger?
Very good. When she could pray for that, why does she break down? Now, when you see why she breaks down, then you understand that she basically never was having evil so powerfully present in her heart as Macbeth was having it. So Macbeth doesn't lose it. Macbeth doesn't lose himself. But it is Lady Macbeth who goes mad. So she had taken a role upon herself which basically was required. But she was originally not that. Lady Macbeth has been misunderstood throughout. People for very long have, talked about her as evil personified. But madness has gone unnoticed in such readings, because she goes mad because she just cannot contain it anymore. The guilt comes so heavily upon her that she loses herself. There is mind rebels against her. So conscience basically is very powerfully present in Lady Macbeth, and therefore this madness, this act of losing herself to madness, it is very important in understanding Lady Macbeth in true light.
Ma'am, what does sleepwalking symbolize in Act 5?
Yes, very, very good. When you talk about this sleepwalking, it basically symbolizes the conscience, right? Now, when she is awake, these are secrets. She cannot reveal anything to anybody, but her heart cannot hold it anymore. The truth. Basically, truth is evidently to come out, and it will come out. And therefore, since Lady Macbeth cannot talk about it or say it when she is awake, so she starts saying all that in sleep. So sleepwalking here becomes a symbol of truth, and how truth at last will certainly come out in life. And Shakespeare is basically warning us, you can never get away with the deed if you want. The image, the metaphor weaves, all perfumes from Arabia cannot sweeten this little hand. The frustration, the agony, the pain, the trauma, you can understand it very powerfully.
Ma'am, is Lady Macbeth punished for her ambition because she is a woman?
That is an intelligent question. What do you think? Is Lady Macbeth punished because she is a woman? No, when you look at Shakespeare's world, it seems so. I'll tell you why. Shakespeare, doesn't drive Macbeth mad. He is a man. cannot lose himself. It's difficult for these people to think, no? But she is a woman, and therefore societal expectation from the feminine is that she just cannot do things which are against her nature. And what is the stereotyped way of looking at the nature? Pure, loving, compassionate, soft, tender, cannot bear much weight. And the moment Lady Macbeth goes mad, you are in a position to associate with her as a fallible, weak woman after all. And certainly, it could have been the other way also. Shakespeare could have made her thin and out throughout, a powerful character, but she does get punished for being a woman. And ambition is a crime in the woman. Remember the time. Women are not supposed to be very ambitious. In this time, their sole ambition is to fulfill the wish of their husband and children. And here is a woman thinking of power, right? So it definitely is a crime and she's punished for it.
Ma'am, was she evil or just a human?
Was she evil or just a human? Though we've talked about it to some extent, there are very, very strong reasons to believe that she was very much human. She commits a mistake in the initial act, driven by ambition, driven by a deep sense of duty, mad love, blind love towards her husband, and urge for power. Right? It's not that she is innocent there, she also desires to be the wife of king. But then what happens? She is a human also, and therefore she understands the moral conscience very much present in her, makes us see that she has committed a crime, a sin, she has done a wrong deed, and then she just cannot bear it anymore, and she not only goes mad but also commits suicide, because the weight is so heavy upon her that she cannot live with it at all, right? So when you look at the action of the play, then you realize that in fact she is more human than many of the characters, very true to life. This is how we are. We yield to ambition, sometimes we yield to temptation, but if we do something wrong, we just cannot get away with it, get rid of it. It haunts us, and it haunts Lady Macbeth more than anyone else in the play. And therefore it is not wrong to say that she basically is a human. With this, we have come to an end of our today's discussion, and to quickly recapitulate what we have learned today. So we saw the psychology of power, so how it works in the masculine and the feminine. We saw gender dynamics, and how they influence our readings of Lady Macbeth and society's understanding of power and gender. What is it that we learn from the character of Lady Macbeth? It is very good to be ambitious, but to fulfill your ambition, if you sell your soul to the devil, if you do something which is wrong, then you would never get what you want actually in life. You would never be happy, you would never be at peace. So we'll remember this lesson, and this is all for today. When we meet tomorrow, we'll see further, we'll try to explore new dimensions of the play. Thank you. See you in the next session.